So this is going to be a class for roaming. Something a lot of people usually ask me is like, how do I roam? When are good times to roam? How do I know when to roam? These kind of questions come up pretty often, especially if your lane is going good, going badly, etc. So this is going to be all things roaming timings, how to identify that, what factors go into it, etc.
Warning, warning, warning.
So let's start off with some feedback and questions from the chat, which is going to be, first off, describe good timings to roam. Like, when are good times, guys, for you to just roam around the map, move around the map? Like, what are things that you look for, factors, etc.? Trying to see what the base level is for everybody.
The only time I've tried to roam is like when I'm backing and I have a chance to pick up wards. I'll try to roam a little bit to put vision out. That's all. I'm really bad at roaming.
Okay, cool. So then that's fine. Then we will have lots of things to talk about and go over. If the wave is pushed, yeah, pushing the lane, or if your lane opponents are missing, after resets, you can go mid. These are all good things. So I would ask the next question, which is, what champions are good roaming? You know, like, what champions do you pick when you want to roam? Bard, yeah, that's a pretty good answer. Crank, Thresh, Alistar, Karma. So what are like factors or things that make champions good roamers? Since we've kind of like, now we've listed off some of the things that are, you know, the champions themselves. Hard engage / pick potential, some kind of CC. Yeah, so most of the time, kind of what we're looking for is either, yeah, those kind of key things. Either really good mobility or some kind of hard CC, some reliability and functionality. So usually, you know, most people who want to play like lots of roaming champions, Bard's definitely one of the #1 picks just because of the fact that, you know, he has the portal, the chimes give him movement speed, champion like favors roaming a lot. But a lot of the other ones you were listing are also really great. Things like Alistar, Thresh. Other examples of this are like Rel, Leona. Pretty much any of the categories that have like hard CC are things that we want to be looking at for roaming. These are great roaming champions just in general, just because of the fact that they have lockdown. And not always does our teammate in mid lane have lockdown, so being able to have the extra CC usually guarantees us a lot of opportunities for scoring kills. Also, really good things that we're already identifying, which is, you know, when we're on reset, we can go mid. When our lane is pushed, or our opponents are missing, then you have options to move around the map too. A lot of roaming is really just about wave state. Can your AD carry farm without you in the lane? And are these good times for you to move around the map? So we're actually going to be going over a slew of things and kind of going over the things that, you know, go into my mind before I start looking for the roam and such. So we're just going to kind of just jump in and go over a lot of VOD stuff. This will be a little bit shorter of a one, but it'll have a lot of variety in terms of the videos that we're going to be going over because there's not a lot of baseline to talk about. So let's first off jump into one of these, which is converting lane pressure / kills into roaming opportunities. So we'll scoot back a little bit right here. And main thing to note is that we're going to hit level 3 first and just go in for a kill and score a kill, which is kind of just the precursor for what is going on. So as you guys kind of said before, pushing in the lane is really, really important because the primary factor that I want you guys to remember when it comes to roaming is, let's put it right here, is our ADC needs to be able to farm. Our ADC needs to be able to farm. This is the most important thing. This is the #1 rule that we want to be applying to the entire time. We want to make sure that our ADC can still farm. Whether that's the wave is pushing back to you, you reset first so he's going to clear a wave so you don't need to go there. You know, you're able to push the wave into the turret. All of these factors are really, really important things for our ADC needs to be able to farm. Also, I guess another way to look at it too is maybe the opponents just can't pressure him. So if you're playing against maybe an enchanter or just someone who's completely like the Ziggs is in this example, then roaming is easily a great option. But one thing that I want you guys to focus on is making sure that you are getting these waves in before you're moving if you are in lane a lot of the times, because we want to make sure that we soak EXP. If you can ever obtain the push and get it into the turret, this is a primary goal for us. Is stealing a kill mandatory for roaming? Actually, getting a kill early is exceptionally strong for you if you intend on roaming a lot, because it means that you most likely will have the gold for Moby boots on your first reset. So actually getting a kill at the early stages, if you plan on playing roam heavy, is actually pretty good for you and will accelerate you into the mid game very easily. Being able to get that reset off and buy those Moby boots instantaneously off of your first reset will actually give you so much more ability to impact the map, because you're usually playing against someone as a support who probably either has tier 1 or tier 0 boots, so you can move around the map a lot more. So now that we've tackled our number one rule, which is our ADC can push in the lane. So what I want you to pay attention to is even though I can't push this in the entire way, my AD carry can, so that means that it's okay for me to potentially look for moves. Now, one of the best times to actually move around the map, because I'm sure everyone's had this, you want to look for a roam, you sit there, nothing happens, you're really frustrated, you feel like you wasted a lot of time. But an easy way to actually guarantee that you gain value off of roaming is to actually move when fights are looking like they're going to happen. This is why minimap is really important. So as you can kind of see on our minimap right here, you can see that my two teammates right here are in this line brush and they're being pinched between these two players. That means that they are most likely going to look for a fight or potentially get into a fight. So you see as the kill is happening, I look over at my mini-map and I go, oh, they're kind of fighting over here, so it's not a bad idea for me to potentially move. So since my AD carry can guarantee get in this wave and still farm, remember, always following the rule. Our ADC needs to be able to farm, so he can push in this wave by himself. So I decided to drop this wave and just immediately roam to mid lane because of that. Because of the fact that I see that there's a potential for a fight, I'm just already running over here. And as you can kind of see right here, we ended up having a fight. And I'm walking over no vision, because usually in the early stages, your opponents don't have any vision or very minimalistic amounts of vision, since we're only at trinket wards right now. So because of that, I'm just going to sit in this line brush. You can see my jungler is coming over here. We toss our lantern over to him, and we get our flay in, and we score a kill right here. And then the Talon walks over too, trying to fight us, and we can continue to fight. Important things though, guys, as we play in lower elo is as follows. Make sure that you're pinging, because if without pings, this play doesn't even happen, because your teammates sometimes, they're not really paying attention to what you can do and what you're doing. So as you can kind of see right here, all the way from back in this location, I'm going to be walking to mid lane and spam pinging. Because of the fact that I am spam pinging, my jungler decides, after he clears the wave, or after he dies right there and he swings back around, I'm pinging on my way, and you can see that my Ujir swings down and around and cuts his camp because of the fact that I'm just communicating with him. It's actually a really important skill that you need to develop, and make sure that you're communicating with your teammates. Otherwise, your roams just won't work, right? Supports don't really kill people very easily by themselves, so we want to make sure that we're always gaining value in that sense by making sure that we're communicating via our pings. Then we will just keep going through these clips as follows. So a couple of these will just be converting kills into lane pressure. So this is another one where I want you to kind of pay attention to what we do afterwards, not really what we're doing in lane. So as you can see right here, once again, we're laning against our opponents. We go in and score a 2v2 kill right here. And afterwards, we're going to take our reset because we're extremely low on HP. So after we've scored these 2v2 kills right here, we're going to end up being incredibly low on HP, and we're just going to immediately reset. So, number one rule that we apply, right, which is that we want to make sure our ADC can farm. My ADC can farm this wave quite easily because, well, we've killed both the players, so they're going to be respawning and coming off of resets. Also, we can't do anything in this lane anymore because our HP is completely depleted. So we're going to take our reset here, and we're going to have the ability to impact anywhere. This is why, and a huge emphasis on making sure that you move around the map more and go to mid lane more frequently. So as you can see right here, my jungler is in the river, and I'm off of reset right now. So rather than walk to my bottom lane, what we're going to do is just run to mid lane. This allows us to have a lot more options and opportunities for any of the plays that are happening. Because of the fact that I'm able to run mid lane right here, since I don't need to be bottom lane, as you can kind of see my Samira is just clearing it out by himself, I am able to impact anything here. So fight ends up occurring once again, and we're able to just be here and potentially turn this fight. making sure that we're communicating via pings and just scoring kills on whoever that we possibly can. The main factors that we kind of put into this is as follows. Always, the rule of thumb is, can our ADC farm? So because of the fact that we scored the kills on people, and I know that my AD carry can just push it out by himself, and as you can kind of see on the minimap, maybe it's a little bit hard, he's able to push in the wave to the turret and just reset by himself. So I don't need to deal with him at all, which unlocks me to be able to kind of go anywhere on the map. Also, whenever you play against things that are not CC-based champions, so we'll use the example of Ziggs in this game, but maybe you're against a Karma, a Lulu, a Soraka, a Yumi, these champions that don't have a lot of hard CC, you're kind of free to move around the map a lot more often than you think, because of the fact that even if the wave is kind of in a bad spot or just needs time to push back to you or your teammate, they shouldn't have ways to jump on him and kill him. Now, I'm sure everyone has had some situations where they go to roam and their AD carry just dies 2v1 for no apparent reason. It's fine, that happens sometimes. That's not really how you should predicate or base your decision making on when to roam and how to roam. But it is very important that we make sure that we're not just randomly roaming and that our ADC can always obtain farm in a reasonable manner before we're moving around the map. This is a great example of just converting your back timing into an easy going mid. And you can do these kinds of things even if you don't get any kills. So we can even use the excuse of, oh, well, I caught the waves under the turret bottom lane, and then I reset because I was incredibly low on HP, and then I caught, I ran mid and I caught this fight, and then I rotated back down. Alright, so then, let's see here.
So, I have a question.
Yeah, sure, certainly.
So, say like, both bot lanes reset.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the wave is in a neutral state.
Yes.
So the wave will meet in the middle. You would probably, in this situation, like after reset, you would go mid, but mostly to just drop wards, right? And then go bot immediately after.
Yes. So basically the rule of thumb is especially when you finish your side stun, you pretty much always want to go mid to just drop down vision because you'll always have a numbers advantage there. Plus, then it creates opportunity. This is the most important thing when it comes to roaming a lot of times, is sometimes your roams will not net you kills, and that's okay. But what we want to do is consistently make sure that we're creating opportunities for ourselves so that we can do those plays. So, for example, when we got the kills bottom lane and I ran middle, seeing that there's a good potential for a fight, we're creating opportunities for this. And the lower elo you kind of play in, the more frequently you'll get those opportunities, because the more, I almost want to say, mental focus they have in terms of just like CSing and laning normally, so they don't recognize or acknowledge that you're roaming quite quickly enough. Great thing that you asked that question, because that's quite literally what this next clip is going to be. So as you can kind of see right here, we're resetting off of our off of our lane, and actually what's happened is we've completed our sightstone. And you can kind of see that a couple of my teammates have actually just ended up dying. But we're going to make sure that we're doing our due diligence, going through mid and getting vision down, making sure that we're establishing this vision. And this is one of the easiest times and most consistent times that you can use to create opportunities for yourself to have skirmishes. So what I want you to pay attention to actually is, I'm going to go a little bit further back, which is right here. So as you can see right here, if you can't tell quite on the mini map, it's a little bit hard. Let's actually go a little bit further. The wave is going to be in a relatively neutral state, as you've stated. Perfect. So our lane is going to be in a neutral state. If you don't know what a neutral state is, it just means that it's meaty in the middle. So you can kind of see that there's a new fresh wave here, and there's a new fresh wave that's going to crash in the middle for their side too. That means that on our reset, it's neither pushing nor is it pushing towards us. So we're going to take our reset here. As you can kind of see, we're out of resources right now. And off of that reset, our ADC is going to be able to get to lane, and he can decide whatever he wants with the lane. So as you can see here, the Leona has already gotten here first. So actually, this is a scenario where we're not even able to get there first on this scenario. But as you can see, my AD carry is actually getting to the wave and starting to push it in that sense. So as you can see, our ADC has actually gotten access to the wave already, and he's able to push. So we're just going to roam mid right now at the same time. And that means even though we're losing players here, what you can also acknowledge is that my AD carry has been able to get the push in already, and he's walking towards the river. So that means that even though we see that the Leona is walking here, our jungler's in this location already, and our AD carry is here too. That means that off of this roam and reset that we're already using for our ward vision, we can be here to actually have a skirmish. So as you can kind of see, we start the skirmish out. Want to go for basically the damage dealer. So Rengar, we already use our ignite down here. And just force him out and do as much damage to possibly anyone that we can. After that, you know, we've kind of have to give out until anyone else shows up. But this is a really important thing to do just so it's often that you are able to get vision down, control the location, and once again, we've established opportunity. So because of the fact that we're making good use of the fact that we're moving around the map, getting our vision down, just like Panaries was curious about, this creates opportunity for you to have fights in the river and score kills and roam. Also, this allows you to then potentially do something that is a little bit more unique. So we will lead into this, which is going to be ganking your own lane. Oh, this is the one it is. Okay, sorry about that. I got them out of order. Okay, so this is the next part, which is ganking your own lane via establishing vision. So, as you can see right here, here's a scenario where we haven't gotten as messy of a fight. So now we're establishing vision in the river and in the jungle. So we've gotten our push on, we've got the vision down here, and this is a concept called ganking your own lane, which is basically you're not always walking through your own lane to just start establishing pressure, but instead you're able to establish vision and then get behind people, such as you can kind of see right here. This is a little bit easier to do, obviously, when you're on the red side, since there's a blast plant and there's a lot more space to move, but the concept is still the same, which is that when you guys are roaming, make sure that you are still giving attention to your AD carry. Remember the number one rule, right? Number one rule is our ADC needs to be able to farm. So making sure that you're still giving him attention so that he can still create pressure, still farm, stay strong, etc. is very, very important. So as you can kind of see from this circumstance, we've already established the vision, and now we're doing a concept I call ganking our own lane, which is we're going to gank from behind and then score kills on them by ganking from behind. We've converted our vision, as you can see right here, into pressure, and then we're able to walk behind and then score kills. The most important factor, by the way, when it comes to ganking your own lane is the wave state. So what is really important in this circumstance is how far away the wave is. So if you're ever curious where a wave could be, just use your own wave as a reference. So you see on our minimap right here, we see that the wave is between the tier 1 and tier 2 turret. That means that I know it's not going to show up anytime soon. So because of that, we're able to actually just walk behind and score these kills quite easily. Because there's no minions in our way or anything to block skill shots, cause any problems, those kinds of things. And then because of that, we're able to push it into the turret and score a couple more plates. Perfect. So what I want to show you guys now is just the concept of ganking your lane where maybe you don't have vision. Sorry. Maybe you don't have the vision. Maybe you've already placed the wards down. We're not able to get nearly as deep into the jungle. These are all factors for it. So as you can kind of see right here, jungler is coming down with me. I'm spam pinging on my way, and we're just ganking our own lane. Rather than always walking through the lane itself, we're making sure that we're coming from different angles, looking for different ways to score kills. So because of this, the Jinx is really far up, and we're able to ensue a fight while we're ganking our own lane, where we just flay the Wukong out. He doesn't end up dodging, so I actually missed the hook right here, and we're just making sure that we're auto-attacking the entire time, waiting for our flay to come up and score another kill. Ganking your own lane is a really important skill Really important skill to develop because of the fact that we want to make sure that you're coming from different angles a lot more often, so that it just makes it so you can pressure way easier. You know, if you're walking at someone in a straight line the entire time, the likelihood that they scoot back is way significantly higher than if you're always coming from different angles, like behind them through Tribush, through the river, etc. Can you go into more details on how to punish an enemy roaming at the end of the lesson, please? Yeah, sure. I will definitely go over that. A pretty good example, honestly, would actually be the river fight that we had. Maybe I shouldn't be closing out of these like an idiot. The river fight that we had, where the Leona actually got there first and scored kills on my mid laner, but because of the fact that my AD carry was able to push out the lane and then rotate up into the river, you can punish it in that sense. You wanted to ask that too. So how do you punish someone else roaming a lot? You have a couple of options. So let's pull up, I think it's here. Perfect. The lull planner. So let's just use the example of actually let's set the foundation before we do too much about that. So the foundation for roaming is be the first one to back, so you're the first one to get there, right? So that's why pushing the lane is really important, because usually if you push the lane into the turret, you're the one who can get to the location first. So let's use examples where you're not the first one to get there, right? There's a couple options that you have. So let's say you're second, right? So you're the slower person. You know, you're getting pushed in, or they run at the same time or something like that, or they can get to the location faster. I'm actually going to show you exactly what's going to happen here. So I actually have a video for this. Oh my goodness. I am so prepared. They call me the king of classes. Okay, so here. Perfect example. All right, you guys ready for it? So here you go. You're Nami. As you can see right here, the laning opponents have actually pushed in the wave to the turret first, which means that they have what I call initiative, which is, oh, he can go first for me. So sometimes what you can do in a losing position is, as long as we follow the rule, you can still roam. So what was the rule again, guys? What was the number one rule for roaming?
Your ADC needs to be able to farm.
Perfect. Your ADC needs to be able to farm. So as you can see right here, when the wave is on your turret, my ADC can still farm. So because of that, and I see that there's a fight happening in mid lane, we can actually roam, despite the fact that we don't have push at all. So making sure that as long as our ADC can farm, we're in good shape in this sense. So as you can see right here, the skirmish has started happening around mid lane, and as you can see right here, I'm spam pinging that the player can show up, and boom, we're the second ones to the fight, right? But they're coming from an odd angle, and because of the fact that we decided to not catch the wave and sacrifice the wave, because our ADC can still farm the entire time, we're actually able to show up to this fight even though we're a little bit late and have impact on that. So as you can see right here, they start the fight, we're able to get the wave off and show up to the fight, make sure we keep everyone alive, and actually end up winning that scenario. So this is an example of a laning phase thing, where if you are in a losing position but you know that someone's roaming and it's going to impact your lane or your mid lane, then sometimes it's okay for you to drop waves, is what a lot of people call it. You drop the wave. You go, okay, my ADC is still farming. We're still following the number one rule. I can follow off of this. And then you can impact the fight in that sense. So whenever you're in a losing position like this, you can still convert roaming pretty well. Another thing to note that I want to point out is the same way that we talked about in the first video with our Thresh, which is that when people are fighting around mid, that's usually when you got to pay attention to mid. So what I would have told you here is that way back here, we see a ping on our way for the Kha'Zix, right? And you see that the Kha'Zix on our minimap, don't even need to really see them. It's starting to walk. There's a fight happening now. We see Nocturne. I can already tell you that a fight is going to happen before this is even started. So that's usually the guaranteed timing when you can get value out of our roams, is when people are already fighting because they're so focused on the fight that they're usually not paying attention to who can show up. And because usually fights take, 10, 15, 20 seconds in the early stages because people are kiting, posturing, chasing, etc., you can usually show up to these fights pretty pretty effectively. And even if maybe sometimes you aren't able to actually impact the fight, sometimes just the fact that you have the threat of showing up will potentially stop your teammates from dying from scenarios, because it'll deter people from chasing them off. So this is a really great example of, oh, I'm in a losing position, but you can still find ways to impact it. So the next thing is another thing. So let's pull up our lull planner. So let's just do something off of reset, something a little bit more rudimentary for this concept, right? So let's just say you're the orange side. So you get pushed in the entire time, right? You're getting pushed in, they push you in, and they get to reset. So they've got like a 15-20 second lead on you. So the support resets, and he starts running middle. And then you've reset, but like you're here-ish right now. You have a couple of options. Number one is you can come from another side. So something that a lot of supports don't really do is they only tend to walk through the bottom side. So a lot of times, when I teach people, I go like, oh yeah, if you want to establish vision, you usually walk through the bottom side to get your vision down here, and then so that you can just easily access your bottom lane afterwards. If you know that the enemy support is going to roam though, what you can do is you can bait it by coming from the other side. So the support is running over here, and let's just say you're late or whatever, and he doesn't immediately gank. Then what you can do is you can sit on this side, purposely waiting for him out of vision for him to make the play, and then you can counter it. This is a really easy way to kind of counter plays a lot more often, and it's a way to leverage the top side of the map. This is something that a lot of people don't really do, which is most of the time people who gank, they'll always gank from the bottom side, but honestly the top side is usually the place that's less likely to be warded, and it's a great way to come from angles to set up ganks on mid lane or counter plays. Another option too is a couple of other options. Number one, so let's just say you're playing a champion that doesn't roam very well, and they're going to roam. Then usually what you want to do is try to coordinate with your jungler or just, your AD carry and dive. So, if we establish that their support is mid lane, then usually you have a numbers advantage, and you usually want to try to look for things like dives under the turret. Especially if you're a tank champion, and you feel like you can't get here fast enough. So let's just say like, you both reset, right? But he's here by the time you've reset. And you're like, okay, well, this feels like a waste of time. I don't want to go to mid lane because I'll just be late to any play anyway. Then your best bet is to actually do the technique I told you. Gank your own lane. So you come from here and you look for angles if the wave is pushed up in any way, shape, or form. And if the wave isn't and it's pushing back to the AD carry, then you should look to either zone out the support from coming through this location right here or this location right here, and then turret dive. Especially if you're a tank champion, it's very easy for you to turret dive people, so this is a great way to punish people who are over roaming or roaming at bad timings. So those are both options and opportunities for you to kind of do stuff and create pressure out of nothing in a losing position in a lot of ways. The final option too is that you can just gank top. So if you know the enemy support is going to go to mid lane right here, and this is just going to be a 1v1 scenario for a long period of time because you think that he's going to gank middle, and maybe you don't have sightstone wards or something like that, you can just literally run to top, which actually I'm going to show you some techniques for roaming to top as we kind of go through the rest of the videos, because that's one of the more complicated and complex systems for ganking when it comes to roaming. But does anyone have any other questions or things that they'd like me to go into for like losing positions for when you're dealing with roaming? Is it possible to make sure you have a freeze bot? Yes, it is. So the way you make a freeze bottom lane is, let's say, we'll reset this. So let's say you get pushed in, right? You get pushed in and the enemy bot lane is going to reset. And you've cleared the wave under your turret and the next wave is coming. What you should do is you should run in front of the wave. So run past the middle spot and run in front of the wave, and it's called some people call it grabbing, some people call it reflecting. There's a bunch of words for it, but basically what you do is as a support, you grab the wave right here and you have it hit you while your AD carry is resetting, and then you go into the brush. And that what'll happen is the wave will get stuck around here-ish, and it will actually start pushing back to your teammate. And then you can take a reset. So you delay your reset for wave control. Yeah, and then you can go roam. So if you're ever in a losing position, this is also a great way to do it. Because remember, waves go to the middle, right? So if the enemy bot lane wave is stuck here, that means their next wave is going to get here faster than your wave, which will then artificially cause it to build up and push towards you. Is kind of the premium sense for that. So if you're ever in a losing position and maybe you just go, I can never make it to a counterplay, right? What can I do for that? And then what you can do is, while your AD carry is resetting after that wave, you can come grab this wave and get it to freeze or push back to you, and then you use this timing to then make your impact on the map. You're kind of like taking turns a lot of times when it comes to who can roam, momentum, and all of that jazz. So that's kind of another great way to do things. So next, what I want to talk about is just roaming in general. So early roaming, and a lot of people always ask, how do I identify when I can roam to other lanes? So as you can see right here, we pushed the wave all the way to the turret, and now we have an opportunity to kind of do whatever we want. I don't have enough money to buy anything that's meaningful, and as you can kind of see right here, we've pushed the wave into the turret. So the wave should push back to us, and that means that my AD carry can come catch this wave. So I'm just going to roam around the map and look for opportunities, since I don't have anything great to buy. Since their mid laner is kind of overextending and we kind of see a trade happening with summoners being used, we just run on over here and we just scoop up like a pretty easy kill. Roaming at levels 2 and 3 are going to produce you actually the most consistent results on actually scoring kills. This is why learning how to play the first 3 waves of a lane so that you can always guarantee push is really instrumental in being able to snowball the game. As you saw, like even with our Thresh video at the start, it's very easy and people pay way less attention to your roaming timings levels 2 and 3. It's very unexpected, it's easy and consistent to do. So if you do ever get pushes, don't be afraid to level 2, level 3, just run all the way up into mid. Most people are pretty oblivious to you doing it, and it will offer a lot of opportunities for you to score kills. So next, what I want you to pay attention to is the next part, which is roaming to top lane. So, as we've already stated, you want to slow push waves 1 and 2 and fast push the cannon wave generally. You can push for level 2 and then blow out the 3rd wave, which is the cannon. That's fine. You can blow out 2 waves and then just continuously push the entire time and then just look for roam timings. There's lots of variants for it. It's just totally predicated on how fast you can push the wave and if they're fighting the wave, fighting you for the wave back is kind of what's going on there. So as you can kind of see right here, number 1 rule, always, can our ADC farm? So what do you guys think? Can my ADC farm right now in the current state of the lane? If he stays under the turret, yes. So as we've already established, right, we were able to push in the wave all the way to the turret, which guarantees, bit hard to see. Okay, well then what we'll do is we'll go back right here. What is happening to the wave right now? Since we pushed it into the turret, right? This wave will now push out to our teammate, because remember what we talked about before, when the wave is closer to their turret, it reinforces faster, which makes minions pile up, which causes it to push to us, right? Perfect. So my ADC should be able to farm no matter what, because the wave is pushing towards him. Maybe it's a little bit easier to see now, because I don't have like a freeze frame or anything like that, but as you can see on the mini-map, the minions are way closer to their turret than our turret right there. So as you can see, we do our roam, and the wave is still pushing back to us, because there's no reason for it not to once you've initiated the push until your AD carry starts being able to hit it. So because of this, and the fact that I know that my AD carry should be able to farm the entire time, guess what we can do, guys? We can keep roaming. So, because of the fact that our ADC can still get all of that farm, we can just keep roaming. And as I told you before, right, in the earlier stages of lane phase, most people aren't very attentive to roam timings. So, as you can see right here, we're able to just roam over here and score another kill on their top laner. My ADC would totally die from that wave state. If your ADC dies from that wave state, it's not your fault. That's the most important thing I want you guys to take away from this is there might be times where your ADC randomly kills himself while the wave is pushing out to him, but that's not your problem. What you should do is just apply the practices that I'm teaching you, and more often than not, it won't happen. Therefore, by proxy, it is better. In the same way that, you spam games to get a 55% win rate or whatever so that you can eventually climb. What's important is that you develop and understand the reasons why you roam so that you can consistently do well, even if your AD carry finds ways to kill himself while the wave is pushing to him. Okay, that's a super important thing, like mindset wise, to understand when it comes to this stuff. So
in this example, like you were level 3, so they can't dive him bot. But like if they were high level, what they would do is like they would build a big wave, right? And they would dive him if you go top after your roam mid. Is it right?
They could. There's an opportunity for it. It just depends on your levels, what the wave state is, how much he can thin it out, what champions are there, where your jungler is too. So like I would argue right here, as you can see right now, they don't even have the wave on the turret yet. So this is why also it's good for roaming, because we've pushed it into the turret and it's been slow building back up, and by the time the wave gets to the turret, I'm here. Or I'm really close to it. So here's basically where the wave is. Yeah, no, it's a reasonable concern, right? If they're higher level, do I have to worry about him getting dove? Are there more problems for that? The answer that I give you is if you are concerned about those kinds of things, just constantly check on the state of the wave. So if let's say like for whatever reason, while I'm doing this roam, I'm like, okay, could they potentially dive him? Then maybe you just click on your minimap a little bit and check, like, how big is the wave? How long is it going to take? The rule of 30 is basically the concept I always operate with. It takes about 30 seconds for the wave to spawn and then move to the middle of the lane. And usually it's between 2 to 3 waves if it's like slow pushing for them to build it and actually dive somebody. So usually you have about a minute to a minute and a half before you even really need to worry about those things. So I already know, as I'm mid lane, they just started touching the wave. I have a full minute minimum before there's even an opportunity for our opponents to turret dive him. And that's also why, like, basically immediately after I score the kill, I'm already resetting to start moving back towards the bottom. So those are kind of like all factors that go into it in that circumstance, if that's what you're concerned about. I think we're gonna start doing some pure top lane stuff now. Just lane states on top lane and when it's good for us to roam to top lane. So as you can see right here, I have actually died. I'm a feeder, right? Sometimes you're a feeder, I'm a feeder too, it's fine. And as you can see right here, my AD carry has died too, dang it. So, in situations where everyone is feeding their brains out, there's opportunities to do stuff on the rest of the map. One thing that I've seen pretty consistently when people play champions that can roam around the map a lot is if deaths occur, they tend to try to catch waves too frequently. It is really great for support economy to catch waves frequently, but on certain champions, roaming is just better. Bard's a great example of this, as we kind of talked about, but any champion basically that gets Moby Boots has a lot more freedom and opportunity to impact the map, especially when it comes to going top lane, because of the fact that Moby Boots just allow you to move around the map freely and get to lanes way faster. So roaming top lane becomes less of an island than if you have, Swifty Boots or, Lucidity Boots in that sense. So this is more of something very specific to either Bards or if you just like going Moby Boots and roaming around the map, how to identify when top lane ganks are good. So one thing to pay attention to is the wave state. So as you can kind of see right here, as I'm kind of slightly alluding to, is our top laner has his wave on his side. The top lane is on his side. So that means that usually the enemy top laner will overextend to try to push this wave in. At pretty much all elos, this is pretty applicable. Maybe it's harder at like challenger level, but in general, this is a really great opportunity for me to go top. So off of respawn, my AD carry is dead. So we don't have to follow the rule of our ADC needs to be able to get farm because he's dead. So he couldn't get farm anyway. Fuck him. So this is a great opportunity for us to just roam top. Another reason why we're not going to roam mid instead is just because when you look at our map right now, our mid laner's off on a reset too. He's reset at the same time as us. Maybe he's died, etc. So these are all factors that I do in my brain to check whether or not I want to go top. If my ADC is dead, wouldn't it be better to soak EXP bottom or wave clear, etc.? So there are opportunities to soak EXP, right? We could potentially go bottom and soak EXP, get all that gold, etc. But the thing is if you're playing a predominantly roaming champion, so we'll just use examples, right? Thresh, Alistar, Leona, Bard, these champions that already buy Moby boots, etc. It's totally fine. You can usually make up the EXP difference that you could have gotten bottom lane by just soaking EXP in another lane. So if for whatever reason you feel like you need gold or EXP, if you get a successful gank off, whether it's pressure, summoners, kills, etc., what you can do is you can just stay in the lane that you're already in and soak EXP that way, and you can get a lot of what you threw away bottom lane back that way. So for whatever reason, if you need to play for your support economy in that way, etc., then you can just do all of those things. One thing I'd like to point out too in the bottom lane itself is the wave state is actually relatively neutral. So there's not even a big wave for me to catch in bottom lane. So that is also another reason why I'm going top. If there was a super huge wave going to bottom lane and I felt like it was really bad if we missed that, or there's a neutral objective to fight over, etc., or I didn't see any ganks anywhere else, then it's fine for you to go bottom lane. One thing to note is top lane ganks are really dicey. You need to get lots of good value out of it. So if you don't have things like Swifties or mobility boots or some way to get around the map very easily, I don't recommend doing these ganks nearly as much. Most of the time, ganking mid lane is usually just significantly easier because it is right next to your lane itself. It gets you neutral objectives. It directly invests in you, etc. This is something more specific towards, being able to have Moby boots or just some kind of mobility in general. So Bards is just like a pretty much premium for it. But if you just have like Moby boots, maybe you're just a player who likes to roam a lot, then you buy Moby boots on first or second back, then this is totally a fine gank too. So as we established before, right, the wave is pushing towards our top laner, which means that the enemy top laner is probably going to fight for the wave to get stuff done. As you can see right here, he's kind of overextending in that sense. And we're just looking for if the player comes up and fights for the wave. Now, this is called like lane ganking, where basically you're standing kind of out of range of the minion wave, just waiting for them to kind of run into each other and fight, and then you just show up right as the fight occurs. Since they weren't fighting at all, though, we're going to use a different technique, which is just Bard tunnel, etc. And as you can see, we do it right as the wave is coming at the same time, so it gives us an easy free stun, and we just score a very easy kill. And we get the sums out of the player. So if for whatever reason after this gank you were like, okay, I lost a lot bottom lane, I want to hit level 6, etc., what you can do is you can just help your top laner push out the wave, and that'll get you enough EXP value that usually the wave that you miss bottom lane is pretty much like half and half. Like it's relatively even because you are still splitting wave EXP, plus you've scored a kill or gotten pressure in that sense. And sometimes as support, you are just going to sacrifice some golden EXP to get other people ahead. That's just kind of the natural element of the lane and the role itself. So that is completely okay. But this is like these are factors that we use to gank top lane very easily. It's kind of, is the wave going to be on the side of the top laner? That usually means some kind of friction is going to occur in the lane. So those are usually the easiest times for us to create opportunities and score kills on top lane. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, I just thought, in solo queue, do you ever go for Rift Herald, the first one?
The Rift Herald? Only if like the jungler is starting it. So remember what we talked about earlier where, going mid lane is really great if people are running into each other and looking for fights, etc. Rift Herald is kind of the same concept where I would never run over and just start the Rift Herald, but maybe I would go to my lane, I'd start getting the push and go, I have the push, I can ping, on my way, or maybe your jungler just starts Rift Herald, and then you kind of move up the river and you reinforce it in that sense. But I would never just like randomly go to the Rift Herald for the early Rift Herald, no. Just because there's not like that level of organization in solo queue. In competitive, that's completely different story, but yeah, for solo queue, if you want to secure Rift Heralds, it's usually better if you just straight up go bottom lane, get your push going, and then use that push to then walk up the river and reinforce your teammate who's already started Rift Herald a little bit. So that's kind of like what we're looking for that. And then let's do a little bit more complicated one. So that was roaming top when our ADC dies. So our ADC, you know, he's dead. Mid laners reset. So there's no reason for me to go bottom for the most part. Anyway, small wave, not big things to worry about. So let's talk about a little bit more complicated one. So what's gonna happen here is we're gonna reset, right? And you can see on our mini map that the Zilean is resetting at the same time, but our ADC isn't. So you see as our ADC isn't. So he's gonna stay there and he's gonna clear out that wave. So what's gonna happen is this is called staggering resets, or just like and a simple term is let's just say your resets are off timed. So as you can see right here, my ADC is not reset. I have reset. So I reset before my ADC, which means that he's gonna reset after me and he's not gonna be there for a while. As you can see right here from our screenshot, he's pushing in the wave all the way. So originally, as you saw, I was clicking down to bottom lane because I wanted to go just in case he, couldn't get the wave in, etc. But our ADC is getting the wave in. We have staggered recalls. We're recalling at a different time. So that means that I have a full minute to do whatever the heck I want. This is also an opportunity for us to go top lane or mid lane. So as you can see right here, playing around the pinks that we've already established is also a really important and helpful thing. So remember what we talked about before, where it's actually a lot easier to gank mid from the top side because most of the time the mid laners, expect you to come from the bot side. So doing the top side is the least expected thing. So it gives you more, gank paths. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the top side. And remember, the factors are, can our ADC farm? He's clearing out the wave, which means the wave should start pushing back to us, which means that, yes, he can still farm. I don't need to be here for any of this. So anytime that you run into situations where maybe you just get chunked out, you run out of mana, you just want to reset, it's a good timing for you, you got like items to buy, etc. And your ADC is fine by himself anyway, because remember, we've already established that the Zilean is resetting too. Right, so the Zilean is going to reset too. So it's just him and the Caitlyn, and now it's nobody at all. So that means that I don't need to be bottom lane at all. So because of that, we're able to just go wherever we want. Well, top lane is going to be kind of our premium for this kind of scenario. So as you can see, he's pushing in the wave, so I don't need to be there at all. And we have pink words on the top side already, so we have a lot of opportunities. So what I want you to pay attention to is just the minimap itself. So you see right here that the mid laner isn't showing at all, and the Quinn is walking through the river. So because of that, and the fact that I'm just between two lanes, I'm able to ping on my way. My mid laner is able to get the shove, and then we're just able to jump on him and score another kill. Because of the fact that we're just able to reset off of our roaming timing and just kind of do whatever we want in that sense. This one's a little bit more complicated because of the fact that we actually don't get any pressure at all. And it's really weird because our recalls are different. But honestly, staggered recalls is what I call it, where your recalls aren't the same, are really great opportunities to look for roams. If your ADC is going to push in a wave anyway, there's no reason for you to go down there and catch one wave of EXP and lose an entire roam timing for your champion. So as you can see right here, right, because my AD carry and me reset at different times, the Caitlyn's able to clear this wave, but because of that, we're still able to make this play in top lane and score another kill and get sums out of them. So it's totally fine to do that. Utilize the stagger recall. It allows you to have a lot more opportunities on the map, especially if you can't push in the wave anyway and staying in the lane is not useful for you. Yeah, I think that pretty much concludes kind of all of the roaming stuff I've got for you guys for today. So just to kind of like recap a couple of really important things for it. Number one rule, right? Our ADC needs to be able to farm. So make sure that, good roaming times are when we push or are pushed in. Neutral states are okay-ish, but they're not ideal for when we want to be roaming. So we want to make sure that we're kind of looking for those times whenever stuff is happening. Look middle often. If they look like they are going to fight, good time to move, right? Anytime that your mid laner and maybe your jungler's around, etc., it looks like there's going to fight happen, always a great time to roam because usually showing up to a fight late is really, really good since they're not paying attention to where you're roaming. They're focused on the fights. Takes a lot more mental taxation when it comes to all of that. And then a lot of it also is, making sure that we're going mid, getting vision down, create opportunities for yourself to get ganks off, get wards down. But make sure that we're not neglecting our lane. So things like ganking our own lane and roaming from middle from your vision and then converting that into a gank on your own lane is really important. Make sure to give your ADC some love, even if, it's not going well at the start. Ganks are really powerful, and CC is really an easy way to kind of neutralize any disadvantage that you have in laning phase. And then when it comes to top lane stuff, most important thing, pay attention to your top lane wave. If the wave is on his side and frozen, those are usually the greatest times to gank because the enemy top laner is going to get angry that he's being top gapped and he's going to try and push in the wave, and that's a great time for you to get kills on him. And then make sure you utilize staggered recalls. If you ever get forced to recall before your ADC and the ADC can push it in without you, don't come back to bottom lane. Look for stuff on the other side of the map. Look for opportunities to score kills. This is a great time. You have almost a full minute to do whatever you want when you do staggered recalls. Lots of extra time for us to get stuff done. And yeah, I mean, that pretty much concludes kind of like a lot of our roaming stuff. Why is Alistar considered a second best roaming support? Because he's easy to play. Point and click combo is super easy to play. He has a lot of mix-ups and lockdown with his E and the fact that he can combo flash. Plus, a lot of times people play phase rush on Alistar nowadays, so you usually take water walking, so he runs up and down the river really easily. Plus, Hextech flash and the fact that if you're ever behind someone, you can just headbutt them and easily set up kills makes it so that he just has a lot of angles. A lot of kill angles to just set stuff up. Does Janna count as a support roamer right now? She's okay. She's not a great roamer, but she functions okay because of the fact that the W gives you movement speed out of combat when the W is up. Same concept, like either you want CC or you want mobility. One or the other is usually ideal. If you have both, they're really great. That's why Bard's super good at roaming. That's why Moby Boots are great buys, those kinds of things. And that pretty much is it. All right, guys. Awesome. Yeah. All right, cool, guys. Thank you so much for your time.
A good one.
We'll see you guys later. Peace out.